Hey, what's up? I'm ChrisJ.Wright. I started the Moment of Truth Straight Talk series to show rawness and relatability through social media, to advocate for mental health through self-care by sharing my life story through my experiences. In 2006, I stumbled up on a job in college in Jackson, Tennessee, working as a personal assistant. My job duties details entailed me changing diapers on children to adults. I worked as their caretaker. I met a woman by the name of Quim, and I mentioned to her that I had just transferred to Lane College to play football and needed a job to make ends meet. She said, "I got you, bro. I can get you a job with me." And I'm like, "What? Like, for real?" So I replied, "Cool. Whatever you need me to do, just let me know. I just need to work." She said, "But this job is a little different than any job you may have had before if you've ever worked. You have to watch over and take care of people that are mentally challenged and disabled." I thought for a second and then said, "Okay, no problem. I got you. Whatever you need me to do. When can I start?" She laughed and replied, "Well, we'll get you set up with the paperwork this week, and no need to worry about interviewing because I actually do the interview process. And since I know you from school and being in the same class, I think you'll be able to handle the job." And I'm like, "Okay, bet." That job was one of the most challenging and rewarding jobs that I had ever worked. I learned so much about the mental health. The first client I worked with name was Brenden. And Brenden, man, he was a character, man. That was my little buddy though. He, if I'm saying it correctly, forgive me if I'm not. He had cerebral palsy. He wasn't able to bend his limbs, so his legs were stuck in a outward motion, and he was able to move his arms and his head. But Brenden was cool. Like, man, I remember going to his house and hanging out with him, and he actually wore a helmet over his head because the helmet had a face guard, and the face guard would stop him from biting himself, because he had a thing where, I guess because of the mental health challenges, he would bite his arms and, punch himself. And also he would fall backwards and bang his head on the ground. But working with him, man, he was one of the most interesting characters. He always smiled. He always laughed, it seemed like he was just enjoying himself inside of his own world. What Brenden would like to do when I came to his house, as soon as I got there and I sat down, he would start off and, he would, make noises and things of that nature. And that was him just trying to tell me, "Hey, come closer. I need you next to me." And so I would scoot closer to him. It was kind of like a little game that we played between him and I. He would take his right hand, because most of the times I sat on the right side of him. He seemed to be comfortable on me sitting on the right side. So he would take his hand and put his hand on my leg and just kind of give me a little rub. And that was him letting me know that he was comfortable and okay. And so he would sit there, and then he would just lay his head to the side and just pass out. So I don't know if he was actually asleep, or it seemed like he was asleep, or he was just comfortable. But anyway, that was my buddy, man. That was the first client I actually had and worked with in the mental health field. And that sort of changed my life, because I realized how much there are people out there that actually need our help, because they're not able to really help and do for themselves. Now, I can't imagine how much pain Brenden was going through daily, seeing that he wasn't able to move his limbs, and that he would bite himself under his armpits and bang his head on the ground. And that was the reason for having the helmet. They had to put a helmet on him and a face guard. And although that job was challenging and a bit intimidating at first, I took on the challenge because one, I needed the money. Secondly, I've always wanted to help and help out people. I just didn't know I would be doing it that way. But I'm glad I did do it that way because there were a lot of life lessons. And I think about those people that are people that get old that need help and not have family there or friends there that can help them. I can only imagine what they may be experiencing and thinking. He still had his parents around. They obviously cared for him. And I'm sure wherever he is now, somewhere, and I hope he's doing well, but I'm sure he has the care that he need. He was a part of the system, so I'm thinking they will continue to take care of him, throughout his remaining years. So if he lived to he's 100, 150, I'm thinking he would still have the care for that. Now I don't know how that works when it comes to, medical, the state or whoever takes care of him, but I know that for myself, man, it was a crazy experience at first, but it was actually a good and rewarding experience because I learned a lot about people. I learned about people needing help. It actually pushed me to work harder, as a football player and as a person, because here I am. I have all of my limbs, everything is working. And I'm like, this guy, if he wanted to play sports, he could never do it. He could never do anything that the normal human being could do to the max. I remember times where, I would get nicked up in practice and have an injury and be like, like my ankle's sore, but I knew I could get out there and run. But I'm like, I'm just gonna take a play off. This was probably through some warm up drills, but I never took a play off in the game or really in practice. But I always thought about it. It's like, man, I could probably take a day off. And when you work with people that cannot do for themselves, it makes you realize how blessed you are to be able to do for yourself. And it's rewarding when you're able to help those that aren't able to do for themselves. There's just a feeling or something you get like, man, you're just like happy within. You're happy, with yourself. And taking that job would not have been typical, but I needed the job and I needed to be able to support myself while I was playing football. So I was actually playing football and I had a job. So I was working at night, and that during the day I was going to practice. So I was making time to do whatever I had to do because at that time, initially when I started college, I was on full scholarship. But when you transfer and you go down a level from Division 1 to Division 2, there's a lot of different things and the money's different and they don't have the same resources or financial stability to take care of the players the same. So in my case, I had to pay for college, or at least a portion of college. I was still on scholarship, but there was still a part that I needed to cover. And those experiences, working with individuals who couldn't take care of themselves, changed my outlook. I learned to become more patient and appreciative. I learned to be kind to others. It was a very humbling experience. Take it from me. Working with people that cannot do for themselves can and will change your life if you allow your heart to open. I've had a lot of people that I knew that said, man, I can't do that job. And that job, I actually had to change diapers, like I was wiping blood from scars. And, that's challenging because I didn't go into medicine or the medical field in college, but I did what I had to do. And doing that humbled me. Working with Brenden humbled me, made me appreciate life and the things that I actually have, my limbs. When you're working with people that are mentally challenged, they're not even able to make clear choices. And we take that for granted. So always look for the brighter side when you feel that you're doing something that you may not have wanted to do. Find a way to find something positive out of each experience that you have in life. If you just look deeper, you can always find the brighter side of every situation. It's a mindset. Make good choices, do the right thing, help people out, is one of the most rewarding things that I had ever experienced in my life. And when you serve others, somehow things seem to come back to you and work out in your favor in the long run. Stay positive and help those who cannot help themselves. Brenden was an experience in my life that allowed me to change my outlook throughout the rest of my life. So I'm always looking to serve and help others. I believe that we are put on this earth to serve and help others. And I think that's how your blessings come back around. Thanks for coming along and joining me on this journey of discovery and self-reflection. And I hope through my experiences that I have provided some peace, hope, and perspective that will inspire you to move forward and to become a better version of yourself. If you liked my content, please subscribe. And remember, aspire to inspire before we expire. See you next week. Peace.